Sunday's meeting at Sha Tin marks the final race meeting in Hong Kong for 2019. We've got the Bohemia Sprint Trophy, the final group race for the calendar year, and for one jockey, it's their final day of race riding in Hong Kong. Here's what we've got coming up on this edition of Hong Kong Direct. And Regan Bayliss is our special guest in the studio to talk about his stint in Hong Kong before returning to Melbourne for the new year. And Regan joins us in the studio. Regan, thank you very much for your time. You've been in Hong Kong since February, so basically 11 months here. It comes to an end on Sunday. How do you reflect on that time?
It's been tremendous. Obviously, being a 22-year-old, it's something that I need to do. Need to go and gain that sort of global exposure overseas. And you know, I've been lucky enough to ride in a few places overseas, but you know, there's sort of no place like Hong Kong. It was very grateful to get the contract over here, and you know, nothing's been a negative. It's just been sort of all positives, and going to take away some good experience and some good contacts, and it was great.
Let's go back to February then, when you first came over here. What were your sort of expectations about joining the riding ranks here in Hong Kong?
Sort of had no expectations. As I said here before, just sort of, I'm only young. You know, I was more sort of wanting to sort of gain and seek that experience. Feel different pressures in races, ride against different jockeys, and you know, we know in Hong Kong there's world-class jockeys, and you know, it was good to sort of mix it with them, and ride for different trainers, different owners, and you know, just get a different experience with everything, not just the racing, the different cultures over here in Hong Kong. But I didn't have any expectations. You know, I was just privileged to be over here riding on the world stage, and yeah, it's been good.
And it didn't take you long to get off the mark. A double on your first day of winning here in Hong Kong, Champions Way, Rise High. They were both good horses to be getting on.
Most definitely. I had a good book of rides that day, and you know, I was glad I was able to capitalise on those opportunities, and it was great to be able to ride a Class 1 winner, my first ride, and then a couple of races later to win, get a winner for champion trainer John Size. That was on a horse that's got a lot of ability, was also terrific, and you know, something I'll be able to sort of reflect on for the rest of my career. Did
you sort of think that would get the momentum rolling for you here?
Yeah, I did, but in saying that, you know, I know how tough it is. You know, I know good opportunities are hard to come by, so you know, it's just based on a lot of luck, and sort of was hoping you know, things would get the ball rolling, but you never really know.
Let's fast forward. It wasn't an ideal end to that season for you, was it? The hand injury at Happy Valley put you out of action for the last month or so of the season, didn't it?
Yeah, about the last month and a half, I had an incident in the barriers at Happy Valley, which put me out until the beginning of next season. So as you know, if you lose all momentum, I was getting quite a few rides at that stage, and it was very unfortunate that I did have an injury. You know, it's hard enough here to, when you've got no momentum, let alone sort of having an injury and putting a halt to all your momentum. But you know, what it was is what it was. I just had to sort of cop it on the chin and get my fitness back and get my hand right for the next season.
So you did come back for the new season, starting off at the beginning of September and licence up at the end of the calendar year, up at this meeting coming up on Sunday. What were your sort of thoughts coming back for take two of the stint, so to speak?
Quite difficult, to be honest, because I was out of sight, out of mind pretty much. I missed the last month and a half of the season, so I was out of all trainers' and owners' mind. Didn't have any momentum going into those last sort of meetings, and then after that you got the off season, so you got another sort of long period of time off. So it was pretty hard to I had to you know, really sort of work hard, try and sort of speak to trainers every day, trying to sort of create an opportunity from nothing really. And you know, I was lucky enough to Douglas White to throw me a ride the first meeting of the season. It was happened to be his first winner as a trainer, which is pretty special.
That'll be a memory that'll be in the history books here in Hong Kong for a long time, to be teaming up with a legend of Hong Kong racing, really, in Douglas White for his first ever winner as a trainer.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I was glad to get the opportunity, and you know, the horse was going super, Adonis, and you know, we had a lovely run in transit, and I was lucky enough to be able to win on him, which was good. It was obviously Douglas' first win as a trainer, but it was just as important to me to you know, get a win of that first meeting, as I've been off for so long.
So when you look back, now that it is all coming to an end, what are the standout moments or highlights for you in your time here in Hong Kong?
The standout is just the experience and the exposure that I've gotten from just being here. You know, the improvement I believe I've taken since being here. You know, you've got to sharpen up mentally, and it toughens you up mentally too, being here. There's so many disappointments and so many letdowns that, you know, it really does sort of toughen you up and gives you a thicker skin. But, you know, it's been great. I was, you know, obviously the double my first meeting, and I had my brother here for Champions Day. I was able to win on Champion Supreme on that occasion, which was very special to have him here watching then, and obviously Douglas White's winner. So, yeah, it's been good.
So you're riding against some of the world's best jockeys, the likes of Joe Moreira, Zach Purton. That's on the track. Off the track, Hong Kong's very different in that you're your own agent. There's no one selling you to trainers or owners. In terms of on the track and the business of racing, how's this stint developed you? Yeah,
it definitely does, because you go from having an agent to having to do it all yourself here, really. And I didn't mind having that challenge. You know, it makes you sort of identify horses that you think you could maybe get on, or you know are ready to win, and all that sort of stuff. And it's a good skill to have, and it'll be a good skill that I'll be able to take back to Australia, and you know, put what I've learnt here in doing my own rides and take it back to Australia, and it'll make me a lot more sharper in that respect.
As you've already seen in your time here, the Jockeys room is a bit of a merry-go-round. There's so many people coming and going at all different times. You said before you're only 22. When there's a day that comes, which will come, but there's no Joe Moreira or Zach Purton in that Jockeys room, could we see Regan Bayliss back at Sha Tin one day in the future, do you think?
Yeah, most definitely. Never say never, obviously. You know, obviously it's very dominated by, you know, the top three riders here in Hong Kong, so it's opportunities are very, very hard to come by, good ones that can win. But, you know, as you said, you know, Joe and Zach, they won't be riding for forever, and I'm only young and looking forward to going home to Australia and working hard and, you know, trying to have, you know, really good success there for the next sort of 5 to 6 years. And you never know, I could be back, you know, after that sort of 5 to 6 year period, or even beforehand. You never know.
And this will be your first time riding in Australia since the Autumn Carnival earlier this year, so you have been away from racing at home for a while. Is that going to be a challenge to try to re-establish yourself back in Melbourne? Yeah,
I think when you leave anywhere for a period of time, you know, it does take a bit of time to re-establish yourself. I'm lucky I've got a few stables in Melbourne and Victoria that are great supporters of mine, and got a few owners that you know have stuck by me. So looking forward to getting back, and looking forward to the challenge of re-establishing myself in what's a very competitive riding ranks over there at the moment. So looking forward to going back and putting to the table what I've learnt here and giving it a red hot crack.
More to come from Regan in part 2 of this week's edition of Hong Kong Direct. Don't go anywhere. After the break, we're going to be giving you the lowdown on the trials at Sha Tin on Friday, where we saw some of the stars like Mr Stunning, Beat the Clock, Exultant and Hop King Prawn out on the track. And will it be a big party in the Bohemia Sprint Trophy, or is it going to be John Moore's promising sprinter, Thanks Forever, who takes home the final group race for 2019? It's good to have your company on this week's edition of Hong Kong Direct. Regan Bayliss is our special guest, still with me in the studio. We're only 3 weeks on from HKIR, but already the stars of Hong Kong racing have their sights set on the big races for 2020, and plenty of those horses were out warming up on the track at the trials at Sha Tin on Friday morning.
Leader is Winner Supreme. He turns in. He's still rather keen. 2.5 on Happy Fun. Beat the Clock in the middle of the track. Followed by Patch Baby, Wind Pacific, Dr. Jeff, Helena Baby, Jade Fortune, Exultant, tailed off last under the 200. Winner Supreme, Happy Fun. Coming at them now is Patch Baby, Beat the Clock, Dr. Jeff running on nicely at the end. Winner Supreme and Happy Fun down towards the line. Happy Fun collared Winner Supreme right on the line. Then came Patch Baby and Dr. Jeff. They were followed in turn Beat the Clock.
Beat the Clock, the Hong Kong Sprint winner. How was he this morning?
He was good. He was just went out there for a piece of exercise. I pretty much look after him. I was holding him tight, hold him together all the way through. I'm happy with him, and he should improve a little bit more from this trial.
At number 1, Joyful Cheers, moving into the trial nicely, but he is wide. From Waikuku, McMunigal, Rule Thee. A break to Amazing Beats, Vigor Champ and Enjoyable Success. 250 out from home, and King's Race has now taken control. Edges away by nearly 4 lengths now on This Is Class, Waikuku, McMunigal, circuit number 1. Joyful Cheers further out, Rule the Amazing Beats, but it's a one-act affair. King's Race wins by about 4. Second prize goes to McMunigal, just in front of Waikuku and Joyful Cheers.
And how was Waikuku in his trial after running second in the Hong Kong Mile earlier on this month?
He was as good as Beat the Clock. Obviously, so I didn't do too much with them on the last since December, since the last run, their last race, and I think having a trial this time, it's just for some piece of exercise. So I'm actually very happy the way how they went, and I'm looking forward to when it's their next race.
Green Rain back on the inside from Hot King Prawn and DB Pinners last. Lining them up here is Ping Hai Galaxy, 300 out. Over Mr. Stunning, who's made his way into the trial very strongly. Sunny Boy, Full of Beauty. Then came Demons Rock. Back behind them, Joyful Union, Green Rain, Larson, Hot King Prawn and DB Pin. But it is Mr. Stunning starting to edge away here. He looks in good form, and Mr. Stunning beats home Full of Beauty, margin just over a length. Third in was Sunny Boy from Ping Hai Galaxy. Hot King Prawn made good ground, Joyful Union, DB Pin, Larson, Demons Rock and Green Rain back towards the tail.
Mr. Stunning, we saw him at the trials this morning. Did you like what you saw from him?
Yeah, as I say, before he got a problem, the shoulder, after he won 2 races, and then now I'm just looking for the other 19th of January. And he tried this morning, trial good, and then I should be giving 1 more trial, and then straight race that 19th of January.
Karis, Hot King Prawn, you rode him last time out when he finished second in the Hong Kong Sprint. You rode him at the trials this morning. How did he go?
Yeah, he felt really great. It's nice to see him back again in a full work. Of course, John said just let him go around today and make sure the horse is feeling good and healthy. And he felt exactly like that. I'm really happy to still be on him.
Was he further back in the trial than what you envisaged he would be?
Yeah, it's his first trial since the run. Of course, John didn't want me to press him. I was pretty happy where I was, just to get him in a comfort zone. I must say, in straight, he just pulled me all the way through, and I think going forward, that's pretty good.
Yes, that Group 1 sprint that Frankie Law was referring to is the Centenary Sprint Cup, where we'll see Beat the Clock, Mr. Stunning line up. They finished 1-2 in the race last year. That would be their next intended target. We saw Exultant in that first trial as well too, and you would imagine that he's most likely to head towards the Centenary Vase Group 3 over 1,800 metres at the end of January as his next race after the Hong Kong Vase. As far as the sprinters in Hong Kong are concerned though, Regan, it's a pretty interesting time. Beat the Clock, Mr. Stunning have been the benchmark for a while, but we've got the likes of Hot King Prawn, who's starting to return to his best after Coric earlier on this year, and Athero, who we still don't know just how good he could be.
Yeah, that's right. Looking at the finish in the international sprint race, there's not much between these good sprinters in Hong Kong. They're very good horses, but there's not much between all of them, I believe. I believe it's whoever's turns up on the day, whoever's drawn the right barrier, gets the right pace to suit their tactics in the race. Obviously, Beat the Clock's the horse that's really sort of put his hand up and stamped himself as probably the new, nearly the new best sprinter in Hong Kong. Obviously, Mr. Stunning had that crown for a little bit, but I think Beat the Clock's there, and obviously Athero's coming through. He's a young horse on the way up, and he's going to only keep improving as well. But as I said before, I don't think there's much between all of them. I think it's just sort of who gets the best run, who draws the right barriers, and all that sort of stuff. We
also saw Exultant in that package as well too. He's a horse you must have enjoyed racing in your time here in Hong Kong.
Yeah, terrific. Such a warrior. He's nothing to look at. When you see him at the trials and walking around, he just walks around with his head down, and but real racehorse. When he gets out there on the racetrack, he really switches on and brings his best, and he's been exciting to watch for sure.
Who's the best horse you reckon you've seen over the last year here. Beauty Generation, Exultant, they are the two standouts, but there's been a lot of nice young horses coming through the system.
Yeah, Beauty Generation, Exultant, they've been the two benchmark horses, but horses like Beat the Clock, you know, obviously Athero coming through now. I think it's only a matter of time before he wins a Group 1, I believe. Wakuku's, you know, very good horse as well. We saw Furore win the Derby that time in great fashion. So been lucky to be here through some pretty talented horses.
Okay, well, there's going to be a few nice up-and-coming sprinters heading to the track for the Group 3 Bohemia Sprint Trophy, which will come up as race 7 on Sunday's program. Regency legend returns to the races for the first time since he contested the Hong Kong Sprint. Premier won this race in 2018, but he's only had 2 starts since then and is now trained by Francis Lloyd. Jockey Banner won the race, the last edition of it. Thanks Forever's always looked a very promising horse. Big Time Babies in super form. The field trails down to California Whip and also Big Party coming off an impressive win at Happy Valley. So let's start our discussion of the race with Big Party. He's won 4 from 8. When he's good, he's looked very good. What's your opinion of him?
Well, you summed it up pretty much then. When he does turn up to the races, he wins impressively. You know, and he's too good for his rivals, but I believe he can be very hit and miss. You know, we know he's got the talent there, but just depends which Big Party turns up to the races, I guess. Okay, well, let's find out more about Big Party. What's the key to getting him right for his races?
I think this horse, for me, he need to get some cover or behind some horses should be better. This horse, the first start in 1,000, low cover. He lead by himself, so he finished 5th. And then this season, first start also, he jumped fast and low cover. He lead all the way, but only last 50, he slowed down. So last time I just asked Joe, just try to get some cover, and then he can do it.
So cover the key for the chances there with a Big Party. I also asked Frankie Law in that interview who's the main danger. He thought that Thanks Forever was. He's been very good this season, Thanks Forever, placed behind Athero over 1,000 metres. Thought he was good on International Day when he had to cover a bit of ground. Would you prefer him over 1,200 or 1,000 though?
Personally, I'd prefer Thanks Forever over 1,200 metres, but we have seen him win impressively when he beat Ricky Hughes, good sprinter, over the 1,000 metres. But I think maybe sort of controlling the speed when Neil Callan went on him over 1,200 was good. But obviously the race is a little bit on the thin side numbers-wise, so he's got the ability to overcome 1,000 metres, I believe.
And Regency legend, they're putting the blinkers on him for the first time. He was 4 from 4. Had to cover ground, finished well back in the Hong Kong Sprint last time out. What do we make of him?
Obviously, he was very, very talented. He won his first, was it 4 or 5 on the trot. And then, obviously, what looked a little bit disappointing in the international sprint, but obviously, you know, they've had a couple of weeks between runs now and, you know, back down the straight over 1,000 metres, so he looks talented. But I think Jolly Banner's got to be a very good chance. He's really good down the straight. As you said, he's won a group race down the straight before. You know, Chad Schofield's riding him, and we've seen him be competitive and hadn't been beaten far from some good horses like Full of Beauty down the straight first up. So yeah, I think he could be a sneaky chance as well. So I think there's about 3 or 4 chances in that race. Okay, so of the 7, if I could give you any ride on the race, who would you be jumping on? Probably Big Party, I think. Very impressed with his last start. You know, hearing to Frankie's interview, maybe they know how to ride him now with a bit of cover, as Frankie was saying, and you know, obviously you got Joe aboard, so he'd have to be a great chance. But other than that, I'd love to be riding Jolly Banner. I think he turns up to the races every time, tries his hardest. And he loves a straight, and he's been proven to win a group race down the straight before, probably against a better quality field as well on that occasion. So I think he's a great chance also. He's been kept fresh for the race too, and we know he does go well fresh. You're not riding the Bohemia Sprint Trophy, but overall on Sunday you've got 3 rides. Sky Gem, Gleneri Pearls on debut, and Winston's Lad, who has recently dropped into Class 4.
What's your take on your final book of rides in Hong Kong?
I think Sky Gem's always competitive in the Class 5 area. He sort of mixes his form a little bit, but he has ran well before Class 5 over the 1600 metres here at Sha Tin, so hopefully he can bounce back to his best form in what looks like sort of an open Class 5 race. Probably my best ride of the day is Winston's Lad. Obviously he's had 2 runs at the Class 3 this season. Both have been very good, and he's just dropped to Class 4, which he had a run in Class 4 the other day, which was a very good run. So I think he'd definitely be my best chance of the day. He's drawn a little bit sticky in gate 9, but if we can overcome that, I'm sure he'll be thereabouts.
So just quickly, Sunday's your last day here. When do we see you back race riding in Australia?
Yeah, so going to have a couple of days off, and then planning to get back to race riding on the 11th of January. At Flemington, so looking forward to getting back.
Okay, well thank you very much for your time, Regan. We'll be watching with interest when you do head back to Australia. Here's what's coming up in Hong Kong racing. We've got the Griffin Trophy and the Bohemia Sprint Trophy as the 2 features coming up on Sunday. New Year's Day, always a big day of racing. The Group 3 Chinese Club Challenge Cup is the feature, and then we'll be back at Sha Tin the following Sunday. So that's it from us on Hong Kong Direct. Thank you for your time. Thanks for yours, Regan. All the best for Sunday. And we're going to leave you by looking back at the last edition of the Bohemia Sprint Trophy, won in an upset by Jolly Banner.
Fabulous One striding up to match his pace. Styling City handy from Jumbo Luck. Wishful Thinker has found the outside rail, and 2 back to Jolly Banner, who's going to settle at the rear. Fabulous One's got superior pace over I Victory, but he's not upset with the situation at the moment, Joe Moreira. He's happy to stay comfortable on the outside rail, 3/4 away from the leader. Wishful Thinker's tracking up. Styling City's being felt for already at this stage, and Jumbo Luck's ahead of him, and 2 back Jolly Banner. I Victory now took over from Fabulous One. Jumbo Luck, Wishful Thinkers searching for room. Styling City and Jolly Banner. I Victory still in front, but there's challengers coming. Styling City's picking up. Wishful Thinker can't get a run. Jumbo Luck and Jolly Banner from last. It's a blowout. Jolly Banner, the rank outsider's going to go on and win it.